All right. Hello, and thank you for joining us for our January 2025 Lunch and Learn. Happy New Year. I'm Jenna Klinner, and I'm joined here today by several members of the WiscWeb team, including Matt Goins, you see him on cam, and our team of developers. Um, Here is the agenda for this session. First, we're going to run through a few updates and reminders. Actually, it's just one, so pretty simple. And then we're mostly chatting about Gutenberg today. We're going to be digging into some information related to where we're at and what's next. And then we'll talk about user testing. And at the end, we'll have ample time for questions. So as I said, pretty light. We only have one update. It's related to PHP 8.2. We are currently working on those updates, and we hope to roll them out to our production environment as soon as next week. That's TBD though. This should not impact your sites in any huge way, but if you see anything weird, we encourage you to reach out via our customer support form. Um, this was a more minor change, so we're hoping that it doesn't impact groups. But yeah, keep us posted. And then the bulk of our conversation is about Gutenberg today. So I wanted to provide you with some insight into where things are at regarding the build of the theme in case you're interested. As a reminder, this is a collaboration between WiscWeb and the Office of Strategic Communication. We've been hard at work building this new theme for all of you. It is a big to-do, so I wanted to give a shout out to the Gutenberg team for the amazing work on this project. These folks are working super hard, and I know it feels a bit nebulous to all of you at the moment since you aren't able to see the theme just yet, but I can assure you that things are coming together nicely and everything is looking really great. So far, we have built or modified about 11 blocks with additional blocks in progress. We have 4 patterns built for you already with 2 in progress. As a reminder, a pattern will allow you to build a page or a grouping of content based on a pre-built design. This is something that we think will really help users with building out new pages, and it's a feature we can't currently offer in the standard UW theme, so we're pretty excited about it. We've created the settings UI, which will replace the customizer option that currently exists. We've built the header and footer pieces. We are currently working on the custom post type for faculty staff, which is a really big build. Our team has done some really great work to try to adapt this feature without relying on advanced custom fields technology, which is what we use in the current theme. Um, we have worked with the amazing folks at the Center for User Experience to do an initial accessibility review of built features and are working on implementing a few fixes to improve found barriers. We're also currently working on a second review. So shout out to Leah Bowers from the Center for User Experience for her amazing help in this space. And finally, we started building the migration tooling that will help you migrate page elements to blocks in the new theme. So what's next? In February, we are planning to open a user testing period, and I'll talk about that a bit more in the next few slides. This spring and summer, we'll continue building and modifying blocks to recreate the features that exist in the current theme and to incorporate your feedback from that user testing. We'll also be continuing to build out that migration tooling that I mentioned earlier. And then likely closer to this summer, we'll begin building up training materials for Gutenberg. All right, so I mentioned that we'll be doing some user testing soon. I know a lot of you are waiting on this piece, so I wanted to give a little overview of what you can expect with this process. We're targeting February 10th through the 21st for this testing period. This is subject to change just as things come up, but we're really trying to stick to these dates if possible. During this period, users will have the opportunity to request a testing site. This will likely happen in the next few weeks. We plan to email our user list once our user testing request form is ready. So if you are on the WiscWeb mailing list, you'll receive that. We'll likely also post it in the WP users group in Teams. Um, and you'll be requesting the site before the February 10th start date. And you wouldn't be able to test until that date. So what we're doing is we're trying to get all the requests for the sites queued up so that we can build out all those testing sites. And then on day 1 of testing on February 10th, you can hit the ground running and just start. Users will have up to 2 weeks to test. And we plan on creating some basic instructions for you that we'd like you to test so that you have a starting point. During the test period, you'll also have the opportunity to provide feedback. This will likely be some sort of survey or form that we provide to you at that time as well. I wanted to make sure that everyone fully understands what the testing period is for. And so, therefore, I'm sharing a few considerations. First, since we aren't providing training yet, this testing will require users to learn by trial and error a little bit. Second, this testing period is an opportunity for you to see, it is an opportunity for you to see what we've already built for the new theme and to test the features and provide feedback. That is kind of what this period is for. But I wanted to be very candid about what it's not really for at this time. The testing period is not a time for training yet. We are not yet ready to train our users in this tooling, so we won't be providing KB instructions or instructional videos for this testing. So as I said, it will require you um, to learn a bit by trial and error and dig into some of the materials that we've already provided. This is also not a first release of the theme. That's going to come later this year. This is just testing so that we can continue improving the theme based on your feedback. And finally, this is not an opportunity for you to start fully rebuilding your site. The test project that you receive will be archived after the 2-week period, and you won't be able to revisit unless we have questions from you based on your feedback.
Really,
Since we,
really quick, really
yeah,
quickly, I just want to also throw in, can you go back to the previous slide?
absolutely.
Okay, so again, very pointedly, we just want to say it's not real. We're looking for you to tinker, test on your own, learn a little bit. And Jen and I had this conversation yesterday, but we want to make sure we say this as bluntly as possible. This isn't real. This is a testing environment where we want you to do some of the things that you would do in production, but we want you to do it in the Gutenberg version of the theme that we have at the moment so that you can kind of just see what it is and then most importantly provide us feedback. We need to know what works, what doesn't work, what seems logical, what doesn't seem logical, what else could we do, what more features or functions would you be looking for. um, and then also, just to underline the no training period, this is also not a support period as well. So
Good point.
we don't want you sending us how-to questions and like,
Mhm.
Matt, I'm trying to add this thing. That will all come later. Right now, it's just a matter of just throw whatever you can think of at the wall, but do it on your end.
Yeah,
Um,
and I think if you run into those things, that would be great feedback,
yeah,
maybe.
document that
Hmm.
stuff. Absolutely.
Yeah, awesome. So since we aren't able to provide Gutenberg training at this time, there's a few things that we suggest doing as prep for the user testing if you'd like to participate. You are not required to participate, but we do know that a lot of folks are excited to see it and do test some testing and try to understand how it's going to impact them. So first, I highly recommend that you watch or revisit Matt's recent Gutenberg sessions that he provided. He held 2 different sessions, one for orienting to Gutenberg as a concept and another for building out content in Gutenberg. So he's going to drop those links in the chat here. He also noted this in those sessions, but I'll reiterate there is a playground in WordPress that allows you to kind of play around with Gutenberg. It will not be an exact match for what you can expect in the theme, but it does give you a nice intro to the tooling ahead of testing so that you know what you will expect with how Gutenberg functions. So we highly recommend if you're really interested in user testing that you dig into these resources ahead of that testing period so that you can hit the ground running.
I don't, I guess this is more of an open question to you because I haven't been in the conversations and I literally just thought about it, so I apologize. So this is an open question to you and Andrea and to Keter, I suppose. This is primarily, we're going to provide this for people to log into. We're not providing a version that people can download and then test on their.
Correct. Yes.
Wanted to
This
make
is an
sure I.
environment, yeah,
Yeah.
you'll get a test site. The theme will already be in there. You'll get to
Yep.
test for up to 2 weeks on the current date for when things would go away would be February 21st. And like I said, those dates are a little subject to change, but right now we're really targeting February 10th through the 21st. Um, and then after that point, it would be archived. So you wouldn't just get to continue playing around right now. This is simply for feedback, bug fixing, identifying barriers, um,
Yep. Thank
and just kind of understanding where we might need to continue sort of focusing our efforts. And I'm just seeing that Keter wrote too. So building on that, it's also helpful to share that the blocks, patterns, and features available for testing will not include everything that will be available in the future. Really good point. This is
you.
not finalized. This is
Mhm.
just where we're at up until this point, but we're continuing to build new features. There's some things that you won't see in there. So you can expect that some of the things that you have in the current UW theme won't be there for user testing. That's because we just haven't gotten to them yet. Um, but there are a number of things that you will be able to test. Let's see. Ketter also notes folks will be testing the things we've created so far. Yep. Um, yeah. And bug fixes are one of the things, as both Ketter and Andrea noted, that we are hoping to find just so that we fix those issues before we do a first release. Yeah. Yeah, I would say where we're at is really great. The team has
Yep.
done such a great job of already accommodating a number of features, incorporating feedback, fixing accessibility barriers, considering accessibility the whole way, um, designing things in a really nice, neat, clean way that is aligning with the campus brand. All of it's looking really good. And of course, I minimized my little presenter notes and I have to go find them. Sorry, I only have one screen.
Maybe I'll do like a little learn with Matt session next month when all this starts to just kind
Yeah,
of to just kind of highlight what's in there. Maybe not so much train, but again, we're not doing training, but like there are a lot of things that we talked about in theory in these informational sessions that we've done that now you will see in reality because they exist. But some of it might be some of it might be hidden. So maybe it's just maybe it'll just be an opportunity for me to kind of go through and just be like, hey, here's, here again, here is where Gutenberg things are versus where old editor things were. So maybe I'll plan something out for early February for to once people start requesting and getting sites, maybe we'll do something like that so we can get out ahead of some of those conversations.
and like I said, Matt already covered a lot of this in the sessions that are already recorded. So if you weren't able to attend or you didn't watch them yet, please,
Yeah, yeah,
please,
yeah.
please tune into those because
Yeah,
they already cover a lot of it and they're
yeah, yeah,
great.
yeah.
So
We
lots of
cover
good
it, we
questions
cover it
popped
in we
up.
cover it in Gutenberg, not in
Yeah,
the
not
theme.
in
So
the
that's
theme.
that's more of where my brain is going
Good
right now.
point. Yeah, two different things.
Yeah. Hmm.
All right. So we've got those resources. And then here's a real quick recap of sort of the things that we want you to take away from this. So we'll be sending an email to our user list with a link to the user testing request form sometime in the next few weeks. So just keep an eye out. If you're not sure if you're in that space, we can check on that for you so that you know. But if you generally get the emails from us, you can rest assured you'll be on the list. So this email for this lunch and learn session, for example, came in through that list. You will have up to 2 weeks to test. So like I said, February 10th to the 21st are our targeted dates for that. We will share light instructions for what to test and a method for providing feedback. We are not training at this time. We are not doing support on how to do it at this time. And then also, your site will be archived after the testing period. So this isn't something that you'll be able to go in and just keep building and playing around. This is not the first iteration of the theme. This is simply to get feedback. All right. So what questions do you have for us about user testing or Gutenberg in general or anything else that you have?
Everybody's ready.
Oh, well, thank you, Laura. Laura said, I don't have a question, but just wanted to say thanks for all the work on this and keeping us informed. Thank you. Love you, Laura. Yeah, so Michael asked, what's the anticipated transition timeline for us to redo our sites? So I kind of shared, let me go to the previous slide here. I kind of shared a rough timeline of kind of what our team is focusing on over the next couple of months. Um, that we are still hoping to do a release of the first release of the theme sometime this fall. That is subject to change. There's just so much going on campus that you just never know what might come up. So we do want to be a little bit flexible on that. But we're hoping to do a release in the fall for the first release of the theme. After that point, we anticipate giving at least a year for groups to transition over. Um, so if we were able to release the first iteration this fall, I would anticipate, 2026 and maybe beyond would be all opportunities for migrating. You are very welcome, Michael. Looks like there's a question. How will you expect us to log our feedback? Yeah, so I think I mentioned that there will be some method provided. We're still figuring out if that will be maybe like a survey or a form for that user testing feedback, but there will be some sort of process that we will communicate to you all for how you will provide feedback, and that will be sent with the probably with the email after you submit the user testing request, you'll get some sort of instructions when you get your actual test site URL.
To Adrienne's question, no updates yet. The report's been submitted to leadership. Uncertain as to uh, what the results of that will be. We unfortunately are in the same position that you are. We won't know anything until our leadership tells us anything. So Dave's question, will this be a required change? So, yes, in WiscWeb, it will be a required change because we are going to move everyone from the old version of the UW theme into the Gutenberg new version of the UW theme. So, for our service, it will be a requirement. But again, this is why we're sort of taking this I don't want to say slow, but we're taking a methodical approach to making sure that things work. We have a way to migrate, and if we don't have a way to migrate certain things, we make sure that we put in place support so that we can help you with any issues that arise from that. For all sites on the UW theme, I don't know that I can answer that. I don't know that Jenna could answer that either. I guess my assumption is yes, the
Eventually, yeah,
encouragement is going to be move everyone off of the old theme, and we will stop making the old theme available
at a
for
certain
we're just
point.
going to
I think
stop we're
that's a
just going to
ways
stop
off.
updating it. Like we're not going to do
Yeah.
anything with it. It's just going to
I
go
think
away.
there's a point where we will be needing folks to transition over to the Gutenberg theme and fully retire the UW theme. We haven't made strong decisions on that quite yet. In terms of timeline, there's just a number of factors that might influence it, but I would expect that eventually that would go away.
Yeah. But again, uh, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to specify earlier when Jenna was talking about what the process is going to be like. We're not making this test available for download. So like people who are I know we have a number of folks who are on the mailing list as well as who join our lunch and learns who are not specifically WiscWeb users but are UW theme users, and
Mhm.
we sort of are the communications hub for the UW theme. So this is sort of how you get your information. So I wanted to make sure that people who are not WiscWeb, who like host their sites through Do It Web Hosting potentially or elsewhere, I wanted to specify that this test is not for them. It is for WiscWeb specifically because we are building. Oh, I shouldn't say that. I'll step back because we're building it specifically with our sort of WiscWeb infrastructure. I guess if you were interested,
Anyone who wants a
yeah,
test
if
can
you're
test.
interested, we'll
Yeah, we're
take your
actually
feedback.
going to be
Yeah,
posting it in the WP users group.
yeah, yep.
So we purposely made it so that anyone who wanted to test could. Um, Obviously, not everyone who uses the theme is in WiscWeb though. So a lot of you are WiscWeb users since this is a WiscWeb Lunch and Learn. Some of you are not though. Um, and we do want feedback from that whole group because we understand that there's needs that lie outside of WiscWeb that do impact this. So yes, any users who wish to do testing during that period can. I also had a question. It was a direct message, so you won't see it in the chat there, but they allowed me to share it. They were wondering about, I had mentioned that we wouldn't be using advanced custom fields or ACF in this new build. So that's the goal right now is to not build with those dependencies. That just allows us to kind of maintain things in a cleaner way. Right now, for example, if we do use advanced custom fields in the current theme for things like custom post types, faculty, staff, members, and like publications and any of those extra post types that we have use ACF currently. It's a really nice tool. It's just harder to maintain updates when those things are getting updated separately. It requires a full theme upgrade every time they make a change. So it's just nice to reduce those dependencies, honestly. So we are really trying to find ways to work without having to utilize ACF in the future theme. Let me know if there's any additional questions about that. So yeah, just reducing dependencies is the goal there. Um, and then it looks like there was a question about accessibility, and Laura just noted that Laura Grady is at the Center for User Experience, and they can test the website for accessibility, and they can reach out for more questions. Linda asked a really good question. So with that ACF change, we're not using it for fact staff. Does that mean that fact staff pages will be limited in content? No, we are hoping to accommodate the same types of abilities that you can do now in the current fact staff um, option. And in fact, I think that in various ways, Gutenberg might be even a little bit more flexible with content.
I was going to mention too, just kind of like as an aside, like the transition for folks in WiscWeb to the new theme over time is kind of like also like a really fun and exciting way to think about any improvements you might want to make to your site. So things that you could even start thinking about now is like, oh man, what are some like plain language improvements I might want to make to my site? Or maybe there's pages I don't want to have anymore, or things like that where you can kind of start thinking about organization and things. I mean, knowing there's a migration tool as well, but if you were, these are all things you can think about, especially if you are somebody who might want to start from scratch and rebuild. Um, but yeah, it's kind of fun because like sites you already have content, so it's like a nice way to learn a tool because you're not starting from like a blank page necessarily if your site, you already have a site.
Thank you, Michael.
Sorry, I was muted. That yes, Michael shared the plain language course that's available for campus. Thank you. Other questions? So Jaya asked if this has already been said. I apologize. I had to step away. Are there any updates on if accordions and tab content will be migrated? Yes. So we've already built out the accordion block. We have not yet started on tab content, but we are hoping to accommodate both. Subject to change, but I think we're definitely
Uh,
shooting for that.
More pointedly, how are we going to be able to migrate that content into the new blocks?
Yeah, so we already have a path for accordion stuff, but because we haven't started tabbed content yet, we
Yep,
haven't looked at migration for that.
got it.
Linda asks, how will including social media be impacted with the new system? Will our feeds be integrated into a page, for example? So are you kind of asking like what would social media embeds look like? Like feed embeds? Yes. Okay. We are currently looking at the embed block. So that's something that we're still doing discovery on. There is an embed block for Gutenberg, which also includes a number of embed options, and there's blocks for different tooling. However, I would think that some of the same limitations that exist currently are still going to exist in the future state. Some of them might be a little bit better, but generally, like things like Meta products are limited because of their limitations to how embeds work. So
Yep.
some of that won't be things that we can influence. Um, but I would say generally we're trying to make sure we can accommodate what folks need where we can, if that helps.
Yeah. And again, all things to test when we get to February, because you know, let's see what things look like. You all, we can throw lots of things at the wall, but we do so in a very in a vacuum. You all are the ones who do this work on a regular basis, way more than we do. So the things that you're going to try, the things that you're going to try to recreate, that's going to influence and guide us so much more than us going, hey, this looks good, we'll give it to the people. No, no. We need what you all are going to try to do. We need you to break things. Honestly, we need you to figure it out. Um, Throw some things at it. If it works, cool. If it doesn't, let us know. Let us know how you think it should work. Let us know why it should work. That's another thing too is when I say like what other things would you want, it, we would like some justification on why you want it as well. Like provide us that type of information as well because that's important to us because from a business standpoint, we need to understand what are those benefits.
Okay, another question is, will we continue to use the new UW events or will there be a Gutenberg block for events? And if so, could the feed be shared on separate websites? TBD, we haven't really dug into events in general or UW events yet. Those are UW events is a separate plugin from the UW theme. So while it kind of seems like they're the same thing, that's actually just a WiscWeb plugin that we provide that works in our sites and looks like the styles of the UW themes. So what we're focused on right now is just replicating what is already available in the standard theme, and then we'll be looking at custom one-off plugins that we've created and how that might get adapted. That said, there is a block for events. We have not dug into it. Unclear what it might provide. We could utilize it. We might not. And I would say generally, we have no idea if that will have an option for sharing on separate websites at this time.
Actually, like when I was doing the second session, the fourth session, I guess technically, the second session of like actually demoing how to do stuff, the query loop. The query loop is a very powerful, very fun block that I think could get some I think it could help with the idea of the events, like displays. I don't know about, I mean, honestly, events are just a custom post type that then we're feeding in as so, as something else. But like the query loop block is so fun that I think my brain already goes to like, oh, I would do it like this.
Yeah, so I know query loop doesn't mean a whole lot to those of you who
to,
haven't
to
been in
those of you who didn't see
Gutenberg,
it, to those of you
but if it helps, that will be something that's utilized for like the post listing stuff
Yep.
in the Gutenberg theme. So when you're testing, you can kind of think about that.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, because I
and
was
I'll
thinking like I create a category that's called events, and then I just loop in any post that's called an event, and I just loop it that way.
mm, this will all make more sense one day, I swear.
Yep, I see.
I will just revisit though, like for clarification, because we did kind of mention this, but it might help to know. So the standard UW theme has a number of features already built in it. Faculty staff happens to be something that's built into the theme, but some things that are not actually the theme would be UW events, publications, UW social share, the knowledge base search, um, the reusable content plugin. Those are all separate from the theme that we built for you because there was high interest in those needs.
Yeah, Sue's question is an interesting one because that one came up in my sessions as well. Um, how is gravity forms going to work? How is WP data tables going to work? Um, those plugins, because they're vendor plugins, they are built for the most recent version of WordPress. So the style differences will be how the pages look. The functionality will still be the same. You're still building the forms in a forms area. You're still embedding it on a page using a short code. Or same thing with data tables. You're building the data table in the data tables plugin, but then you're using the short code to display it on a page. So functionally, there should be no difference. Styles, there may be something different just with the way that it's displayed on the page because of the fact that we're changing the theme. And there are going to be some color changes or some font changes or something of that nature. But like I said, functionally, there should be no difference for those, specifically those two plugins, WP Data Tables and Gravity Forms.
Yeah, and Michael asks, are there any developers exploring connection/pulling data in for Workday, such as job postings, etc.? We do have an active feature request for this, and one of the things we're waiting for is for Workday to actually be here because we're not going to build anything until then. But also, that is something that would be coming later. We're really just trying to replicate things that already exist right now. That includes the current features of the theme and the plugins that we already provided WiscWeb, but there will be a point where we start to look more at those feature requests. So I would keep an eye out. We'll definitely let you all know if that's something that we're going to start and take a look at. Linda asks, will the query loop allow us to reuse content?
No, query loop, I mean, I'd have to think that one through. My initial answer is no, because all Query Loop is doing, I don't know enough about Query Loop to definitively answer this. Initially, my answer would be no, because all Query Loop is doing is it's pulling from an existing source, your post list in this case, and then displaying them in a styled way and using a pattern or something of that nature. So, no, it won't be that functionality. I think we would still look to use our reusable content.
For
I guess that would be my guess would be we would want to use something that we've already built
I
that
believe there's
just
like,
using a short code.
I'll let Andrea speak in case there was something she was about to say. Oh,
Okay. Hi. Yeah, sorry, I was just typing. Yes. So Gutenberg has the concept of a synced pattern, which is a pattern that somebody who controls a site can create and save that pattern to the database. So if you had something like building hours, for example, you could write that in one pattern and have that content sync to multiple pages. So I think sync patterns will replace the need for a plugin like the shareable content plugin that we have now.
Good to know.
good
And I
question.
know Linda, I know Linda's other desire slash need is sharing content across multiple sites, creating patterns and then sharing them across multiple
Two
sites.
very different things. And
Yep.
I don't think that will change in terms of the complexity and risks there. So I don't think we'll be targeting options for sharing across sites unless we can find low risk solutions for that. But generally, I would say probably not part of our goals right now, since we don't really offer that option anymore in the current state. So we would not be, that's not part of our current roadmap. But we do offer reusable content, which is within the same site, and we would be looking for a solution for that. Other questions? Any other plugin questions? Always plugging questions, right?
It's always plugins. Next month we're gonna update Gravity Forms in the next couple of weeks, and Gravity Forms has added a couple of new fun features that we'll touch on at next month's Lunch and Learn. I haven't tested data tables yet, so I can't say whether or not it's added anything fun, but usually it does.
Data tables has some things that are not great that we will be
Yep.
turning off. Ah, yes. Plugin land.
So helpful.
Oh, thank you, Linda.
All right. I will stop the recording.